Medfield. Thank you for watching Medfield TV. And once again, we have somebody that I think you know very well. Michael Sullivan is here to give us his monthly roundup of the events in Medfield and Town Hall, of course. And I've asked him if he'd also give us a little bit of roundup of the differences in the town since he came, what, 46 years ago?
Oh, no.
Something like that.
Only 42 and a half.
42 and a half years ago, and see what differences he sees in the town in that period. Okay, so let's roll.
Sure. We're about midway through summer, unfortunately. The days are starting to get a little bit shorter.
But it's a new fiscal year.
It's a new fiscal year, right? Happy New Year. We are still trying to figure out how we came through on it. I think we did okay. But Joy Rasciuto and Matt Violet are still compiling all the figures, and George is trying to get the cash totals together. So, but I think we certainly balanced the budget once again. I said we should teach those guys in Washington a lesson or two.
Yes,
so I actually have started working on the fiscal 19 budget.
Wow.
So it's we're always seem to be in a 3-year cycle. The accounting department is trying to close out 1 year. They're opening up the current year, and then we're starting a budget for the next year. So, we did get yesterday. We got the final cherry sheet. The governor signed the budget, I think, on Monday, or we read it over the weekend. Signed it Monday or Tuesday, and so they had the cherry sheet posted online, and we lost. We got about 100 and some thousand more than last year, but from the original versions, we lost, I think, about $40,000, and I think it had to do with out of charter school tuition and school choice tuition reimbursements, stuff like that. So we'll see. It's hard to project going forward for next year because the budget at the state level seems to be kind of out of whack, and I don't know whether it's going to recover or not.
It's probably better than the federal.
Oh, anything's better than the federal. They're just, they're so bankrupt they don't even know it. So if anybody else behaved the way they did, they would have been thrown out long ago, but we still go plodding along. But this summer, we've got several projects going on this summer. The highway is going to try to build a sidewalk on Metacomet.
Okay.
It would be, I believe, on the southerly side of Metacomet and connect from Pleasant Street, the
That's heavily
Metacomet
used.
playground.
I've walked it many times myself.
Yes, and a lot of kids park their cars there and walk to the high school. A lot of the sports teams that use Metacomet walk over that way, so it'll be a big help. We're also going to be putting an overlay, grinding down sections of 109 and putting an overlay code on, mainly through the center. The main section will be from around Causeway Street up to around Brook Street. And depending on how it goes, we might be able to extend it a little further, depending on how many tons they use. It's hard to come up with an accurate calculation on tonnage. It's so dependent on the weather and what you find when you grind the road down and whatnot. So, and they're also going to pave parts of North Street. They're going to pave from Main Street. I heard, yeah, from Main Street up to maybe around Frary or maybe James Avenue, depending. And then they're going to do it from around Winter up to the Dover town line. That will just be an overlay. I don't believe they'll be grinding that down. It's just an overlay they put on it. But Main Street, because of all the traffic it gets and all those concrete trucks rolling through town every day, it really needs some more attention.
How's the traffic count on Main Street compared to 5, 10, 20, 30 years ago? Have you any idea?
It's certainly gone up. The last figures I saw were around 18,000, but those were about 3 or 4 years ago. So I suspect it's a bit higher now. You know, my guess would be around 20,000 a day now.
I just thought of that now. I should have warned you in advance. We could have looked it up.
Yeah. What's surprising is 27 gets about 7,000 or 8,000 a day. You just don't think of that as being a major commuter road, but in the last few years it has become a commuter road.
Yeah.
A lot of people use it to bypass 128. Between the two of them, I remember talking to people from Cumberland Farms when they first opened the store there, and they said it was their highest volume traffic location
Really?
in the entire Cumberland Farm system.
I'm surprised.
I was too. And they said, well, you don't realize how much traffic Route 27 gets. It's not just 109. When you come out 109 with 27, it really pushes up the totals.
When we moved here over 50 years ago, my part of North Street was Route 27.
That's right, yes.
And the traffic was horrendous, we thought then, but it was a narrow road.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
that was a good
sidewalks were
thing.
limited.
That was a good thing that we built 27 when we did. You really got to give credit to Billy McCarthy for his foresight back then and pushing that project through.
On so many things.
Yes, you'd never be able to build a road like that today. It goes through so many wetlands, but it serves a critical purpose as far as Medfield goes in reducing the impact of traffic on the center of town.
I just realized he lived on that part of North Street too.
That's right.
I just thought of that. Yes. I never thought of it before.
And a lot of people don't realize he's the one that the McCarthy Park at the hospital is named after. A lot of people think it might have been named after Dan McCarthy, who was the policeman that was killed over in Millis in a traffic incident.
I know it was Bill.
So, but it's Bill McCarthy, yeah. And
I used to sit with him at the selectmen's meetings when I was writing for the newspaper. We had an ashtray there.
Yes,
I hate to say that.
He was quite a smoker.
Yeah, so I was too.
But
I reformed.
Yeah. There's been a lot of changes. When I came, the front of Town Hall was paved.
That's right.
The police station was in the Town Hall.
In the back, yep.
And that was the parking for the police station. And I believe at the time, the back was dirt. And the basement of Town Hall at one time had been a water department.
I think they were there when I moved here 10 years before you came. I think so.
And I think the fire department was there way back. At one time when cable first came to town, they needed a spot to locate their head-end facilities, and we let them use the old water department offices in the basement of Town Hall.
Yeah, that's right.
But then when we renovated Town Hall, they had to get out and find a new spot. So we actually carved out a spot down in the town garage for them, and they pay us $25,000 a year rent for that. So that's turned out to be a good investment for the town without any trouble. So a lot of people don't realize the town collects about $250,000 in rent for different properties that it rents out.
Oh, can you name the properties?
Yes, the water tower on the top of Mount Nebo.
Oh, that's right.
We have 3 cable companies located there.
And cell phone, yeah.
There's no, there's not Verizon. There's AT&T,
that's right.
Sprint, and T-Mobile. And then the town actually owns the land under the post office on North Street.
That I do remember.
And we get paid. We were getting about $80,000 for the first 20 years, but that 20 years is up, so the rent dropped to, I think, around $22,000 a year now. We expect to get about $40,000 a year for renting antenna space on top of the new hospital water tower to AT&T. What else do we get rent for? We get $1 a year for the Historical Society, the Dwight Derby House, and the Lowell Mason House. They're all town owned. And I think there's a couple of other things I just can't think of them offhand, but it's a substantial amount that the town gets in rental income.
How about the cell towers?
Well, that is the cell towers of what's on the water towers.
Yeah. How much do we get from that?
Well, for the Mount Nebo one's about 120,000.
Okay.
And then the hospital one initially would be 40,000.
Not bad.
No. We thought we'd get more carriers, and we may eventually, but the cable companies are in kind of a transition and new technologies and new administrative procedures in Washington, so they're kind of reluctant to commit for the most part right now. But eventually, I think that's such a good spot. I think we'll get some more tenants up there. And of course, there's the rental for the movie production that we have going on, but that's a one-shot deal. You know, it's maybe we had one 4 years ago, and we got some this time, and that money will be used to cover the cost of mowing and providing security for the hospital. So, but they are filming. They started a week ago, this past Monday, filming up there, and they're going at it quite regularly. They've got all their sets in place, and they expect to be there till mid-September.
What actors are here, do you know?
I don't really know any of them. I think there was a couple of young women who were in something called, I don't remember, it was one of these HBO serial things.
Okay. I don't watch HBO.
The Danger Games or something like that. And I don't really know, because it's supposedly about younger people, you know, the characters in it. And so they tend to be younger actors that would be in it, and not established names like some of the old ones. I think a lot of women were hoping that, what's his name that used to star in it, Hugh Jackman, would be in town, but he's retired from those roles.
Too bad, because he's a good-looking man.
I don't know, whatever you women think. So
I think most women out there, if they've seen him, would know that he's a really good-looking man.
Yes, yeah. So that'll be going on. We have had a few objections over not being able to use the hospital site, but I think the rental money we're getting on it is more than offset the inconvenience that people will. And we do have plenty of other sites to provide areas for people to walk. And they tell me a lot of people that are complaining don't even live in town. They come from other towns, and some of them are even professional dog walkers that have found this is a good place to walk their dogs, and they're making money on it. So.
But it'll be open again in the fall, so before town meeting, people can get a chance to go back up and look, correct?
Yes, yeah. Because now there's some talk about, you know, they were going to talk about a fall town meeting. Now
they're talking January.
About January, yeah. So.
Just the weather can be so iffy on a special town meeting in a month of January.
Yes, yeah. Although usually people are looking for things to do in January, the holidays are over. It's not like the period between early November and New Year's when everything is crazy. You know, people have so many events scheduled and travel plans or whatnot. So January, everybody's in recover mode and sometimes looking for things to do in the dead of winter.
I know when I moved here over 50 years ago, they were building Pine Needle Park, Indian Hill, Marlin Road Estates, Alder Road, all those developments are coming in, and you moved in as executive secretary and had to deal with all this growth.
Yes, although fortunately at the time we had Mildred Willis, who was the planning board administrative assistant, and she did a tremendous job. You know, people think there's a lot of building activity going on in Medfield. Well, I remember one time talking to Mildred, and she said that she had 28 active subdivisions. Wow. She had a map with pins all over town. Some of them were, you know, maybe 2 or 3 houses. Some of them were
big.
You know, 40, 50 houses. So there was certainly a lot more open land when I came, but I think the town has done a remarkable job in protecting as much open space as we have. we have, I think, 49% of the town protected open space.
But all that growth at that period all at once must have really impacted not just the schools, but all the town departments, I would think.
It did, you know, they had ended the double sessions by the time I came, but I know you were here when your kids were going through school, and
Yeah,
some
they
of
had
them
the
had to go
double
through the
sessions, yeah.
double sessions in school, and school enrollments were booming. They had built the middle school, the Wheelot School, the Memorial School, so there was a lot of activity going on at that time. And taxes were high then because they were paying for all these
Yep.
buildings and all the sewers. When I came, I always tell people I came with a sewer treatment plant because I came in February of '75 and the sewer treatment plant opened in March of '75. So, but after that, in the subsequent years, there was a tremendous amount of sewer construction going on,
Yes.
and a lot of it in the center. It was very disruptive. Streets were being dug up all the time. There was dust all summer long, and fortunately, most of that's behind us. I think Medfield, because of the efforts of people like Harry Kelleher, were able to get sewers in town when the getting was good. And the federal and state government picked up most of the tab for it. Nowadays, the federal government just mandate, you must do this, you must do that, and they don't give you any money for anything.
But we must have had to increase the highway department, and the police department, they must have all been impacted.
Yeah, not as much as you would think. You'd be surprised how little we have increased them. They've added some, but one of the things that helped out, particularly with the highway department, was equipment. You know, the town was able to purchase good trucks, bulldozers, and we were able to do a lot of things ourselves with our own forces. And our highway guys have, all our public works, highway, water, sewer, have done a tremendous job in keeping the town in the good shape that it's in.
They really did.
I always kid people, I say, you find me a pothole in Medfield, and it'll be filled within a couple of days. They're right on top of it.
Yeah.
They really do a great job. And they do so many other things. I mean, the highway department built the fields up at McCarthy Park. They did most of the work on that. They closed out the landfill next to the town garage. They built stone walls all over town. So many things that have been done that people are benefiting from today, and that people back then were willing to increase their taxes to pay for the cost. And that's what I say today when people, including myself, complain about the taxes. And I say, well, you know, people 40 years ago were willing to pay more to provide for future needs of the town, and I guess the same should apply today. We should be willing to not spend foolishly, but spend wisely, and look for what will benefit us down the road, not just next year's tax bill. And I think, you know, those 3 school projects turned out to be of great benefit already. We're starting to reap the benefits of that when you see what other towns are paying for school projects.
And we were better prepared, I think.
Yes, yes, and I think that the town garage and the public safety building will prove to be the same. There'll be lasting buildings that will service the town for generations.
I hope so.
And they will be proven to be worth the cost. But it never stops. You know, we're looking now at what to do about replacing the Dale Street School. Park and Rec is looking for a new building. The Mount Nebo Water Tower needs to be repainted. We have a problem with iron manganese at our wells down behind the Wheelot School, and we're trying to address that either by building a new well or by building a treatment plant, and they're trying to decide which option is the best way to go. So it's like a house that never ends. Every time you think you've finished renovating it, there's another project that needs to be done. So, but I do think that the people of Medfield have been very willing to step up to the plate if they understand why something is necessary. They're willing to support it with their votes and with their tax dollars.
When we were transferred here, we had never heard about a town meeting before. We'd never lived in New England, neither of us had. And it was really crazy back then. The town meetings usually ran 2 and 3 nights. It was really hard to get a babysitter. So what we would do is switch. I'd go one night and he'd go the other.
Yeah.
And depending on, we didn't even know what issue was coming up, but we did it strictly by the law, by the order of which they were printed in the warrant.
Yeah.
But still, you couldn't ever be sure how fast they would get to Article 20 or Article 7, you never know. But
Yeah,
it was
and I
very
remember,
interesting,
yeah.
very interesting, those town meetings.
And back then, they used to have the town meeting in the Dale Street auditorium,
Yep,
or Dale Street Gym, whatever you call it. And of course, now with the ADA regulations, you can't use it, it's too small anyway. But
right.
it was interesting one night, there was a freak snowstorm on May 9th.
Oh, that's right.
It was in the middle of a town meeting for some reason. And it was, the lights were going on and
Yep.
off, and
I'd forgotten that.
people had flashlights trying to read the warrant so they could finish the town meeting that night. And they finally had to cancel it when the conditions got so bad. And I remember coming outside, it was like popcorn popping because all the branches, all the trees were in bloom.
Absolutely.
And the weight of the
crash.
heavy
Right,
wet
absolutely.
snow just brought everything down, took months to recover. So,
I don't know how many people here have never been to town meeting. I hope there aren't too many. I hope
you
they're
know,
not.
it's a good theater, if nothing else. You know, there's some interesting speeches and some surprises. Sometimes the people you think would be very articulate get up and fumble through, and other times somebody you think is not going to be able to be a good public speaker
Yeah.
really performs spectacularly. So, and sometimes one person will be good one night and lousy another night.
That's true,
So,
too. That's true, yeah.
a lot depends on the issue and the tenor of the crowd, I think, too.
And
So
how the moderator handled it. We've had some good
Yes.
moderators over the years.
we have, yeah.
And certainly Scott McDermott does a good job, I think.
Yeah, luckily they've been stayed for a while, you know.
Yeah.
They have
Well, Copeland stayed for pretty long. I don't remember how long.
Yes, yeah, I'd say he was probably close to 20 years, I would think.
Charlie
yeah.
Woodard was a long time, I think.
Yes, he was just before I came. I think
Okay.
I came the same time as Ralph. I think he
Okay, when Ralph came
started
over.
around 1975, yeah.
Okay.
Although I did meet Charlie, in fact, he donated many people that use the library will be familiar with the Indian weather vane that's on display in the library. And
Yeah.
that was from his house on North Street.
He was a neighbor of mine, yep.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and then there was George Niles. He was probably about 6 or 8 years moderator, and I think
Bill
Scott,
Bill Nurse?
Bill Nurse, yeah, I think he was before I came too.
Okay.
But now Scott McDermott, I think he's been about 10 years now.
It's been a good while, I think.
Yes, yeah. So we're lucky, you know, and we have had a lot of committees designated at this year's town meeting. We had an ALS committee, a fire chief selection committee,
Did you have any news on either of those?
the Affordable Housing Trust Committee. Yeah, the ALS committee met last night, and they are struggling to come up with how to approach the task. One of the things they are looking at, they're talking to Dover and Sherburne to see if there's any way to work out some sort of a joint multi-town arrangement.
Just like we talked to Knowles and Medway years ago.
Yes.
What we could work out.
Yeah.
Who's on the ALS committee?
You would ask that.
I'm sorry.
It caught me again. Gus Murphy is chairman.
Okay.
You've got Neil O'Connor. You've got
An EMT, I'm assuming?
the what?
One of the EMTs on there?
Yeah. Jeff Bonatti's on
Okay.
there.
He was on when I was on, yeah.
There's he ran for selectman. His name just, I know his name, he just escaped me for the minute.
Mike Pastore?
No.
There are lots
I'll
of people
think of
that
it.
ran
I'll
some.
think of it in a sec. Yeah, and then Chris is a non-voting member. Chris Cherweiler. I believe Bob Meany's on it also.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So, and then the Fire Chief Selection Committee. They have been. I think they're going to hire a consultant to help them do a similar to what they did when we hired the police chief.
I remember.
What they call it assessment, some sort of assessment.
How many people are going to be on that committee?
I think it's either 5 or 7
It's a big job.
on that
It
committee.
really
Yeah,
is.
I think it was 7, and then one had to resign. So I think it's 6 right
Okay.
now. Yeah. And then the selectmen at their last meeting appointed a affordable housing trust. 7 members on that committee. They appointed 6, and then there was one. They haven't appointed the 7th because they were waiting to receive the planning board recommendation.
Oh, okay.
And they met Monday night, and they recommended to one of their members, Mr. Brand. So the selectmen will have to act on that at the next meeting. And they're trying to get together to start an organizational meeting so they can get cranking on that.
This is a lot going on in summertime. It's supposed to be
It
slow in the
is.
summertime.
I know, the last few years, the summers have been crazier than the rest of the year.
As soon as I got off the board, see, that's what happened.
That's what it is,
I
yes.
should have run again.
Yes. And we had a very long meeting. The meeting went until, I think, 11:15 last week. So,
Wow. I was at another meeting at the Legion about the project down on the corner of Dale and 27.
oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
I was tempted to go otherwise I would have gone.
Yeah. That, oh, no, that was last night, wasn't it? Oh,
yeah.
the
Oh, your meeting
selectmen
was
didn't
Tuesday
meet
night, that's
last
right.
night. It was a week ago, yeah. The developers that proposed the 200 units are now back with a proposal for 95 units. And I didn't think they could come up with uglier buildings, but they managed to outdo themselves, in my opinion, is the ugliness of the...
You're a taxpayer.
Particularly the ones on the town garage site. In fact, somebody sent a picture of some apartments in Cambridge that sort of looked like it, and I said, "Oh God, not in Medfield, I hope." So, but yeah, I don't know if people have seen the. And this is the opposite, I think. They're just doing a very nice job on the 40B project that Borelli's putting up on North Street,
Yep.
where the old Victorian Manor or bicycle shop or
Knitting
Dr.
store.
Sullivan's
Knitting
office,
store.
knitting store, Dr. Sullivan's office, whatever you're,
No,
depending on how long you've been in town,
Now,
what your
Dr. Sullivan
recollections
was my
were.
doctor, yeah.
But there's going to be 8 units in there, 2 affordable and 6 market rental, and I think it's turning out to be a very attractive building, and it fits in well with the neighborhood. And
Yeah,
so-
some of us were talking the other day how lucky we were to have the 2 Dr. Staggs, who are both absolutely terrific human beings as well
Yes.
as being a very good doctor, and Jim Sullivan, who's
Yes.
also a good human being and a good doctor.
Yeah.
And they did house calls.
Yes.
The old days, if you had a pain or sudden, he would come right to your house.
I remember talking to Jim Sullivan one time. He was saying, I don't know if the way things are going with medicine, if I'd go into the field again. He said, in my day, you're able to have an individual practice. You could, have a relationship with patients.
Sure.
And he said it's changing now because the insurance requirements and everything else has become much more.
But the Dr. Staggs
Centralized,
also had that
regulated.
relationship from everything I've heard from from friends.
Yes,
That they
yeah.
were very person to person, very, very good and
Yes,
decent.
and if you needed them, they would go to your house.
Absolutely.
And, you know, it was the old family medicine type practice. And who knows, hopefully maybe we'll get back to that. I understand now they have this, if you're willing to pay enough, they have, it's sort of like a concierge service for a doctor. The doctor only takes so many patients a year at a time, and they will meet with you whenever you need to meet with them. You get very quick appointments.
Really?
They sit with you for a long time. They don't just
Do we
run
have a
you in and
Medfield
out of the
doctor that does
office.
that?
I don't know if there's any in Medfield, but it's getting more common as you get in towards Boston. And they have a term for it, and I'm not sure what it's called, but it's sort of like the old private club, I guess. It's private club for
Yeah,
medicine.
maybe.
I don't know whether that's, I guess it's good if you can afford it. If you can't afford it, it's probably not so good.
Yeah.
So, but, yeah, so there's a lot of water over the dam. The school enrollment, I guess, has fluctuated up and down. I think when your kids were in school, it would be about the peak, about 3,100, I think was the peak enrollment. Now I think we're around 2,600. So it's been up and it's been down.
Yeah.
As Barry Colt predicted, it would happen.
He was right on the nose every time.
He was,
I think of
yes.
Barry a lot when the numbers come out.
Yes. And how he was attacked for his predictions. So
Yeah.
it was a shame.
I have 2 grandchildren left in school,
Do you? Yeah.
which is kind of fun.
Another generation's gone by. Wow, time flies.
Well, I have a great grandson,
arguably.
but he's in Georgia, so it's not gonna, I'm not gonna help too
Who
much.
knows? Maybe they'll come back. You
Yeah, I
never
hope so.
know.
I hope he does come back.
Yeah. Well, the town is, as usual, is cleared out. Everything's a lot quieter, and the traffic is at 109 is much more manageable mornings and evenings. But as soon as you get used to it, Labor Day comes and boom, everything's
And
back
school
to
starts again.
Yes, yeah. That's why the Public Works Director wants to try to get the 109 paved before the schools come back in session. It's a lot easier to do it that way. It'll be inconvenient for a week and a half, but if they can do it in August, it'll be much better. I'm trying to think what else is going. We've Selectmen appointed a couple of new policemen.
Who they appoint?
One of them is Bonadis, and the other, I believe he lives on either Dale or Adams Street. I
Dale
can't
and
remember
Adams
his
Street.
last name, but both seem very nice.
Probably somebody
nice
I would know
guys.
then.
Yeah. I'm sure you would.
Yeah.
And they have to go to the academy, even though they have had some prior training. They still have to go through the academy for their training. And we are interviewing candidates for the water department vacancy that we have. One of our water department employees left, so we're replacing that. Oh no, water department, they added a position.
But what job would be, what it would be doing?
It would be a water technician,
Which would be,
changing meters, replacing,
okay.
valves, repairing water mains or water services, reading meters,
what does it
whatever.
pay?
Again, you got me there. I'd say it's probably somewhere around 50,000 a year, plus
not bad.
plus some overtime opportunities for plowing and whatnot if you have the CDL license. Although I remember 50,000 ain't what it used to be when you see what the poverty
I know.
levels are and everything. I say, my goodness, it's just.
Used to be a lot of money.
Yes, yeah. I remember I tell people when I came here, you get a house lot for $10,000 or $15,000, and houses were probably in the $40,000 range. Expensive house like Indian Hill, you might pay $65,000, which people considered outrageous at the time. And
Probably.
you look at today, and if you get a house lot, it's probably $350,000. As I kidded somebody way back when about a house in Dover, they showed me. I said, they used to put a house on it for those prices.
Yeah, that's true.
But it shows you how out of whack prices have gotten, and how difficult it is for young people to keep up with it. So
Yeah, I hope we never outprice ourselves from young couples, young families.
yes, yeah.
I hope we don't.
Well, it's tough too. They tell me the young people like to live near the city because they're more attuned to the technology that is more readily available in the city. Although I've always found over the years that they want to live in the city till their kids get to be around school age, and then they want to move out of the
Out to the
city. And they
burbs.
go out to the burbs, yeah, get a good education for their kids. So. But we'll see.
No retirements from any town hall staff?
Fortunately, well, we had to run Griffin retired as Veteran Service Officer as of July 1st, and we think we're close to finding a replacement for him.
Okay.
Meeting with a guy from the State Veteran Services Office, and Ron will be a hard one to replace. He did such a great job.
He did a good job, absolutely.
Yes, yeah. But it's a hard position to fill, it's tough because of the way the regulations are set up about not being able to join the district unless you're contiguous to the other towns in the district, and other situations like that. They have done some good things. I think one of the things they did was require an examination for the veteran service officers, so that make sure that they're up to date on how the laws work. But that's the only one right now, and I hope that's the only one for a while, because
Yeah, I
I
hope
think
so
we're
too.
pretty happy with our staffing situation.
You have some really good people there.
Yes, we actually have eliminated a few positions and created a couple of new positions. So we have Jerry McCarty, no H, who's the new facilities manager and is doing a tremendous job. He asked for some help given all the projects that are being dropped in his lap. And so the town approved a new position to help him out, and he's been recruiting for that, about ready to hire on that. And so we'll see, but he's, one thing people will be happy to hear, he's put out bids for repairs to the town hall roof. I know a lot of people will be concerned with the shingles falling off, and it's not a full roof replacement, but it's a temporary roof repair to fix the shingles that have blown off. So, and he's also going to have the gazebo roof repaired and replaced, so that'll be done soon. And he's made a lot of repairs to schools to roofs at the schools, middle school in particular. So.
Okay, and the library's going to celebrate their anniversary this coming fall.
Yes, he's done a lot of things over there for them. And the library, I don't know if you saw the last selectmen's meeting, but the library is sponsoring a rain garden outside to the left of the main entrance of the library that will take water runoff from the roof and channel it into a what they call a rain garden, which is sort of a depression, which I guess is a fancy word for a hole in the ground. that they line and put plants in, and then the water coming off the roof is fed through a downspout into that depression and acts as a filtering mechanism for the rainwater.
That's great.
And so it doesn't, it stays on site.
I'll have to take a good look next time I go in.
Yeah, well, they haven't started it
No,
yet.
but see where it's going to go, yeah.
Yes, yeah. It has to be 10 feet away from the building so you don't flood the
does it?
basement.
Okay.
So it's, I think it's going to be roughly behind that bench, you know, the bench dedicated to the 911 victims over in that area. So, and then I also talk about rejuvenating what was called the butterfly garden, or the
Yeah.
that's over behind, next to the parking at the rear of the library. So that's a lot scheduled. The schools are interviewing people for vacant positions, so we have a crop of younger and younger teachers coming in to be interviewed, and potential teachers. I was kidding someone. I said, when you get to be my age, you have a hard time telling the students from the teachers.
And I'm 12 years older than you are.
It's all in all, I'd say the town's in reasonably good shape.
Good.
I think the big question still hanging over us is what's the future of the state hospital? And as you well know, having been involved in that for 3 decades now, I guess at least, there's still a lot of questions to be answered as to what the potential use of that should be. So, and I know the committee has put a lot of time and had a lot of
They
meetings
really
on
have.
it. So, but it's tough when you have a strong-willed members and who have different ideas, and trying to put them all together. It's sort of like the debate over how to handle the marijuana legalization. So, which I understand has been resolved, and we're off the hook.
I guess so.
We've done it all 3 ways. We had the selectmen vote not to allow it. We had the town meeting vote not to allow it. We had a special election not to allow it. And they said that community that voted against it could ban recreational marijuana facilities by a vote of the Board of Selectmen. And in our case, Medfield did vote against it.
Yeah.
So and what they've done is there'll be a 17% tax to the Commonwealth for sales, and then an optional 3% tax for towns that have
A store, yeah.
facilities, and they will get that 3% based on sales in their community. So if we don't have any stores located in Medfield, we won't get any 3% money. So.
When you were talking about the state hospital earlier, to me there are 2 heroes about how much progress we made. Going back for a while is John Thompson. Every time I mention his name with giving him credit, people say, it's your son. And I have a son, John Thompson, but it's not that John Thompson. This is a different John Thompson. He lives on Main Street. Yes. And without that John Thompson from Main Street, we would never have been where we are today. Because I was on the mediation committee with John and a few other people while we were dealing with the state, trying to work out our issues and purchasing. And John was unbelievable, and he continues to be. He's patrolling there all the time. He's there all the time. He knows the people. He's terrific. And the other hero to me is Steve Nolan, who's been still working as a lawyer, but he's also...
I tell me he has the patience of Job. So.
And he's spending almost as much time at town hall with this as probably as he does at work. Yeah.
They both do remarkable jobs. I hope people appreciate all they've done for the town.
I hope they do.
Yeah. And they bring their own skill set. John is a LSP, licensed site professional, who his career has been helping to clean up polluted sites. So, and that's why he's been very valuable among many other skills that he possesses, but that's his been career goal. And of course, Steve's a lawyer and specializing in real estate, so he brings a lot of
But they're both
expertise.
level-headed, they don't get angry at people, they just do their job, and they try and negotiate and try and talk to people. They do their homework.
Yes.
I think they're both terrific. We're very lucky to have them.
Yes, we are. Yeah.
Because we would not be where we are today without either one of them, I think.
I think people often forget how many volunteers we have in town like that who are out there putting in time that they probably really don't have given their family and job obligations, but they manage to make the time.
Yep, I know.
And that's one of the reasons they say, oh, people tell me, oh, you've done a good job with the town. I say, no, we have a lot of smart people in town that have done a good job.
And we do.
And I said, if I have anything to attribute, it's that I listen to smart people.
But you do a
and
pretty
take
good job,
their
too.
advice.
You do a pretty
Well,
good job, too, Mike. I got to tell you that.
Well, some days better than others.
And Evelyn's been there for, I don't know how long, your assistant.
Evelyn, I think about 28 years now.
Oh,
and Chris
God,
has been
she's
there
great.
Chris has been there 18 years.
Chris has been there that long? Holy
Yes,
miracle.
yeah. When she came, she had no children. Her oldest son is going to be a senior in high school now.
Jeez.
So, time flies.
We have
So,
aged her.
Yes. In fact, I was talking to someone today about that and said that one of the things that's unique about Medfield is people have stayed in town government for long periods of time. Yourself being a prime example, you were a selectman for 30 years, plus library trustee, plus hospital committees and
Warren
everything else. Yes. And, but then you look at Ken Feeney was there for 38 years. Bobby Kenny Sr., 50
another good one, yeah.
or 60 years. Eddie Hinckley was 50 years. Georgia's been there since she was 14.
Yeah, remember her
never-
working part-time when she was in school?
Yes, yeah. And so we won't say how long she's been there. So
It was 80 years
I don't
ago
want
that
to get
she
in
started.
there, yeah. And Joy's been with us, I think, about 20 years.
At least that, yeah, I
Yeah.
would say.
Yeah, because she was down, we hired her when we were down on West Street in the temporary quarters where we're renting the town hall. It's interesting, the town hall and library will be 20 years old next summer. So it'll be 19 this July for the library and August for the town hall.
I was asking some friends the other day if they remembered going into the old St. Edward's Church that used to be there where the gazebo is.
Yeah.
And if they could remember how many steps, that we all remembered steps at the front of the church. We were trying to figure out how much space there was next to the rectory. It used to be there. It's hard to remember one. I've got to look up pictures.
Yes, yeah.
Should look up and find a picture of it.
Yeah, there were some pictures in some of Richard's articles, I think, that he did.
I'm sure there've been
and,
lots
yeah,
of pictures. Historical Society has lots of them.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize that the original edition of the library was the rectory from St. Edward's.
Yeah, that's when I was on the library.
they-
I was a library trustee back then, yep.
Yeah, and we connected the two buildings, and that was probably good for about 15, 20 years.
That was a long time ago.
It was, yeah, yeah. A lot of water over the dam.
Yep, but I think it was a good job. I'm glad we did it.
Yes, yeah. And I guess I mentioned this the last time we talked. The drought is officially over. So,
Okay.
So we can hopefully encourage people to conserve on the water so they're still not using as much, but at least we're not, you got to go out and chase them down and turn off the sprinkler systems. We're just hoping we rely on their good judgment and their lack of desire to pay a huge water bill when they,
Right.
which they can control by using less water, especially with the sprinkler systems. I think, and they say that 2/3 of your water consumption in the summer is for sprinklers and
Wow.
pools and washing cars and outside uses. So it's a constant battle.
And it's not going to end.
No,
It'll
no.
never end.
It's
Let's hope it gets easier for people to follow us.
yeah.
I do.
Well, I can understand people's frustration because I experience it myself. It seems like we have more and more regulations that we have to comply with, and it's like a never-ending battle to what you can't do and what you have to do in order to do something. It's you get worn down by it. So.
Well, when we see you again in another month, you'll probably get some idea of school enrollment. That'll probably be pretty much finalized by then.
Well,
by
no,
the end
they
of
don't.
August?
They don't really finalize the school enrollment till October 1st, I believe.
Oh, okay. I was thinking in October, end of August.
No, every city and town has to submit an enrollment figure for the enrollment as of October 1st. That's the date the school uses.
But the school will
State
know
Department of Education.
By the end of August, school will know, I'm sure, how many.
No, because
No?
you still get people coming in, last minute. You'll get the first week of school, people will say, I just closed on a house or something.
Here I am.
Or somebody's moving out of town.
Yeah, that's true too. Sure.
So it's actually probably around mid-October by the time they submit the figures to the state. And that's when they know. And of course, the school department and the state, as I understand it, use different methods of calculating enrollment. For example, if you have a half-day kindergarten student, the state counts them
Excuse me.
As a half student. We would count them as a full student or something. I think that there's some differences there.
Excuse me.
Sure. Got to get you more water for the next one, huh?
Sorry.
Does that mean it's time to call it quits?
I think it probably is, not because of that.
Is that sort of like your way of gonging me?
It's time for you to go. It is time for you to go. Well, we'll see you again in a month, and you can fill us in on what else is going on.
We will. Yep. Looking forward to it as usual. Be fun.
Okay, sounds good.
Yep.
And thank you for coming, Mike.
It's always
And thank
fun.
you, people at home, for watching Medfield TV. I hope you'll tune in and watch the other shows that are going on. Interviewed Richard DeSorga yesterday, so he'll be back. He'll be on the air a couple times, and Mike is going to be on a couple times, and we'll see what happens in the future. But we'll be back. Thank you for watching Medfield TV.
You're watching Medfield TV, community show.